It was a cold and rainy night when I arrived at the old roadside motel. I had been driving for hours, my body exhausted, my mind foggy. The neon sign flickered above the entrance, casting a dull red glow onto the wet asphalt. The rain pounded against the roof of my car as I hesitated. Something about this place felt wrong, but exhaustion won, and I stepped inside. The lobby was small and dimly lit, with the faint smell of damp wood and something else I couldn't quite place. Behind the counter, an old man sat motionless. His pale, wrinkled skin stretched tightly over his face, and his cloudy eyes followed me as I approached. He didn't smile, didn't ask how long I was staying. He simply slid an old brass key across the counter and murmured, "Room 306. His voice was dry, almost a whisper, and a chill ran down my spine. The hallway was narrow and dark, the flickering ceiling lights barely illuminating the way. The floor creaked beneath my feet as I made my way toward my room. As I walked, I noticed something unsettling. Every door I passed had deep scratches near the handle, like something had desperately tried to claw its way inside. When I reached my door, I hesitated. The brass numbers were crooked, one of the screws barely holding them in place. With a deep breath, I turned the key and pushed the door open. It groaned in protest, revealing a room that looked abandoned for years. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and dust. The wallpaper was peeling, and the carpet was stained with something dark. But what sent a shiver down my spine was the nightstand. Resting on it was an old, tattered notebook. The pages were yellowed, the edges curled from moisture. I picked it up and flipped it open. Scrawled hastily across the first page in thick, black ink were the words, "Do not sleep in this room." My breath hitched. Was this a joke? A prank left behind by a previous guest? But the ink, it looked fresh, the letters slightly smudged, as if someone had just written it. I turned the page, my fingers trembling slightly. If you're reading this, it's too late. A gust of wind rattled the window, and I nearly dropped the book. I swallowed hard, trying to ignore the creeping sense of dread settling in my chest. The rain outside had intensified, hammering against the glass. The storm was getting worse. Leaving now wasn't an option. I decided to shower, hoping hot water would clear my mind. The bathroom was small, with a rust-stained sink and an old mirror, its surface cloudy and speckled with black spots. As I undressed, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Something was off. My reflection looked delayed, as if it moved a fraction of a second too late. I turned away, shaking my head. Just my imagination, I told myself. The water was lukewarm at best, but it was enough to soothe my tired muscles. As I lathered shampoo into my hair, I heard it, a soft creak. I froze. The sound had come from the main room. I wiped the water from my eyes and listened. Silence. Just the storm outside. Probably the old wood settling. Then, another creak. Closer this time. I shut off the water, my heart pounding. Wrapping a towel around myself, I stepped out into the room. The air felt heavier, almost suffocating. My eyes darted around. Everything was as I left it. The notebook still sat on the nightstand, the words glaring at me. And then I saw it. The closet door was slightly ajar. I was sure it had been closed when I entered the room. A sickening chill crawled up my spine. My fingers tightened around the towel as I forced myself to move forward. My breathing was shallow, my pulse hammering in my ears. With a trembling hand, I reached out and slowly pulled the door open. The darkness inside was absolute. I fumbled for the light switch on the wall. It flickered weakly before steadying. The closet was empty. Just an old wooden rod with a single wire hanger swaying slightly. I let out a shaky breath, scolding myself for being so paranoid. But as I turned to close the door, my eyes caught something that made my stomach drop. Footprints. Damp footprints leading from the closet to my bed. My mind raced. Was someone in here while I showered? The thought made my skin crawl. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and turned on the flashlight, scanning the room. No one. The door was still locked from the inside. A sharp knock at the door made me jump. My breath hitched. I stared at the door, my phone still clenched in my hand. Another knock. Slow, deliberate. I moved cautiously, placing my ear against the wood. Silence. Then from the other side, a whisper. "You should leave." I stumbled back, my heart hammering against my ribs. The voice was dry, almost brittle. I didn't wait. I grabbed my bag and lunged for the door, twisting the knob. It wouldn't budge. The whispers began again, growing louder, overlapping. Multiple voices, murmuring, chanting. The air grew thick, suffocating. My vision blurred as the walls seemed to pulse around me. Then, the lights went out. A scream caught in my throat as the darkness swallowed me whole. I don't remember what happened after that. When I woke up, I was in my car, parked on the side of a deserted road. The sun was rising, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. My hands were still trembling as I gripped the steering wheel. I turned to look at the passenger seat. The key to room 306 sat there, perfectly still. And in the distance, where the motel should have been, there was nothing but an empty lot, overgrown with weeds. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know how I got out, but I do know one thing. Something wanted me to stay. And next time, I might not be so lucky. It was supposed to be a simple house-sitting job. A friend of a friend needed someone to watch their place while they were out of town for the weekend. The pay was good, and all I had to do was stay there, feed the dog, and make sure nothing went wrong. Easy money, or so I thought. The house itself was large and in a quiet neighborhood, surrounded by trees. It had that eerie stillness that comes with empty homes, the kind where every sound feels amplified. The owners had left that morning, giving me a quick tour and handing me the keys before driving off. At first, everything seemed normal. I settled in, made myself comfortable on the couch, and watched TV while the dog, a quiet old Labrador named Benny, slept at my feet. By nightfall, I locked the doors, checked the windows, and headed upstairs to the guest bedroom where I would be sleeping. That's when things started feeling off. The first sign was the noises. At first, I thought it was just the house settling, but as I lay in bed, I could hear faint creaking coming from the hallway. Slow, deliberate steps, like someone was walking just outside my door. I sat up, listening intently, but the sound stopped as soon as I moved. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe Benny was just wandering around. I got up and peeked into the hallway. Nothing. Benny was still downstairs, curled up in his dog bed. Shrugging it off, I went back to bed, tried to convince myself I was just overthinking things. Then, around 2 a.m., I woke up to a sound that made my blood run cold. It was a whisper, soft, unintelligible, coming from the darkness just beyond my doorway. My heart pounded in my chest as I lay frozen, straining to hear. The whispering continued, growing slightly louder. It wasn't just one voice, it was multiple, overlapping like a hushed conversation just outside my room. Summoning every ounce of courage, I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The second the light hit the hallway, the whispering stopped. Silence. Nothing was there. I barely slept after that. The next morning, I checked the house thoroughly, but everything was exactly as it should be. No signs of forced entry, nothing missing or moved. It had to be my imagination. I was in a strange house, alone, and my mind was playing tricks on me. That's what I told myself. That night, however, the noises returned. Only this time, they were louder. The creaking footsteps in the hallway came back, more insistent. And then, the whispers. This time, they were inside the room. I bolted upright, my breath caught in my throat. The voices surrounded me, barely audible, but unmistakably there. My phone's flashlight was still in my hand from the night before. I flicked it on, and once again, the sound vanished. The room was empty, just as I had left it. Something wasn't right. I decided to stay up, keeping every light on. I sat in the living room with Benny at my feet, waiting for morning. But at around 4 a.m., Benny started growling. His ears perked up, his body tense as he stared toward the darkened hallway. Then I heard it, a slow, rhythmic tapping sound, like fingers drumming against a wooden surface. It came from upstairs, from the guest bedroom. My bedroom. I wanted to leave. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, but I had locked the doors. If someone had broken in, I would have heard. This wasn't a person. The tapping continued, steady, deliberate. Then it stopped. A long silence. And then 3 heavy knocks. Not from the front door. Not from outside. They came from inside the house, from the guest bedroom closet. I grabbed Benny and ran. I didn't even think about it. I just bolted out the front door, barefoot, into the freezing night. I jumped into my car and locked the doors, my hands shaking as I started the engine. I never went back inside. The next morning, I called the homeowners and made up some excuse about an emergency, telling them I had to leave early. They didn't ask questions. A week later, I got a text from my friend who had recommended me for the job. "Hey, weird question," it read. "Did anything strange happen while you were house sitting?" I hesitated before responding. "What? They didn't tell you?" I felt my stomach drop. "Tell me what?" A long pause. Then another message came through. The previous owners left because their son went missing in that house. He was 9 years old. They never found him. I stared at my phone, my hands cold and clammy. And the weirdest part, the text continued. "He disappeared from that guest bedroom, the one you stayed in." I never replied, and I never went back.